This video is for Unit 5, Learning Target 1. It is designed for students that attend Grant County Middle School and are in the 6th grade and are preparing for an upcoming assessment on Latin America. This has been a big chapter, and because of that, each of these learning targets are probably going to be a little larger with information than they have been in the past. We'll start off going over some major geo terms here for Learning Target 1. 4 major ones from Chapter 9, which was about spatial inequality. You definitely need to know that term, what spatial inequality is, and it is the unequal distribution of wealth in a region, as Mexico City has both rich people as well as poor people living near each other. That's why it's a prime example of spatial inequality. Other terms in this were urbanization. This is where people were flocking to the city from the rural areas because the rural areas were suffering rural decline. Which rural decline is the increasing poverty in the countryside. This is due to a result of poverty and unemployment, mostly because the small farms could not compete with the larger farms and plantations when it comes to the price of food. And of course, another term from this unit in Chapter 9 was standard of living, which is essentially the what is normal. What does everybody have that's normal? That would be the standard. And so when you have a high standard of living, then it's normal that everyone would have a cell phone, a car, a television, things of that nature. When you have a low standard of living, then what would be normal? None of those things would be considered normal, and that would be considered low standard of living. So make sure you know each of those terms from Chapter 9. There's only 4 of them, but they're all highly important. As we roll on now to Chapter 11, which was about hurricanes and natural disasters, some of the major ones here were extreme weather, weather that's unusual, as well as meteorology, which is the study of weather, what a natural disaster is, which is usually what happens when you have extreme weather. You have great destruction caused by that extreme weather. Another one was tropical cyclone, which was a fancy way of saying hurricane. But it also may go, in the Indian Ocean they're known as cyclones, and they're known as typhoons. In the Pacific Ocean and in the Atlantic Ocean they're known as hurricanes. All of those are forms of tropical cyclones. And then finally in that chapter, that topic, there was El Nino, which was a warm ocean current that flows off the west coast of South America. It's unpredictable when it comes. It usually comes around the Christmas season. Some years it comes, some years it doesn't. But when El Nino comes, it definitely has an impact on our weather worldwide. In some areas it might be more dry or more wet. Some areas it might be cooler or warmer than it usually is. Our final topic for the unit dealt with the Amazon rainforest and the land use conflict that takes place there. Big word here would be biodiversity, which refers to all the flora and fauna in the region. That's all the plant life and wildlife, respectively. And that's the most thing that environmentalists want to preserve in this region is the biodiversity. You never know what things can be found from all of these living things, what medicines can be developed. They want to make sure they preserve the circle of life in that region. Also, you have the carbon-oxygen cycle. This is the relationship of carbon dioxide and oxygen among plants and animals, how it balances back and forth. You need to know that term. With this topic, we discussed deforestation because they're cutting down the Amazon rainforest and using the rainforest as a resource to make money on. The Brazilian government is doing that, and so the effect is deforestation. We are losing the amount of rainforest that we have. And then lastly but not least, another term we talked about was sustainable development. This is using a resource in ways that meet the needs of the people. However, it does not cause, it either causes little or no harm to the environment. Focus on the word sustain there, meaning to keep it as is. And then, of course, they are developing it, so they're using it for a purpose. But when they use it for this purpose, such as rubber tapping, then you're basically leaving the forest as it was. If you were a logger, you would not practice sustainable development for when you used it. You would use it up wholly. Other than that, things you need to know about learning target 1 is you definitely need to know where the Amazon rainforest is located in South America. It is located in the northeastern portion of South America, mostly in Brazil. It also is in some other smaller countries. It is not along the Pacific Ocean, as most of the Amazon rainforest, the Amazon River will flow from the Andes Mountains to the Atlantic. So make sure you know where the Amazon rainforest is. Other than that, you're all prepared for learning target 1. Good luck.